to connect.
Hi, glad to see all of you. We're at our live broadcast again, and I do have an interesting topic, I think. I've been asked by a few people, was I ever haunted by any of my murder cases? And I'm here to tell you, yes, I have been. I really have. I had one murder case. It's the one that kind of broke me out of the closet, as a matter of fact. And it happened, I think it was 1983. It's the Wanda Isabel case. I was driving from Jacksonville to Little Rock. I'd been at prayer meeting. And as I was driving down the freeway, I started getting a vision of a young woman. She had a gray skirt on, white blouse, and I saw this man, and he was assaulting her. He was hitting her, choking her. And I saw her over the trunk of her car, and I saw the license tags on the car, the plate, license plate. And I saw he had a uniform on. It was a Texaco uniform. He had a bunch of pins in his pocket. And there was a name tag, Sunny. I didn't hear her name. I didn't know who she was. But the vision was very, very strong. And it was really strange because I'm driving down the freeway and I'm having this vision at the same time. And how I didn't crash, I don't really know. Anyway, it went away. And I called the police and I asked them if they had a missing person out of North Little Rock or Pulaski or Little Rock, and they said no. And about 3 days later, her picture showed up on my TV screen as a missing person out of Sherwood, Arkansas. And I knew instantly it was the same woman that I saw in the vision. So I called Sherwood Police, which is not, I don't do that kind of thing. I don't call the police. But I called them and I told them what I saw in the vision. And apparently the license plate that I saw was her license plate. And it matched the outfit that I saw her in, was what she last wore when she disappeared. And she disappeared out of Hot Springs, Arkansas, out of a Texaco station. They had the idea that her husband had murdered her. This was not her husband. This young man was younger than her. And I told them about his uniform. There was a Texaco uniform, and about the name Sunny. Well, it turned out that her boyfriend, his nephew, was named Sonny, who worked at a Texaco station in Hot Springs. And she had apparently stopped at that station, and she had left with him in her car. This case really, really haunted me, mainly because they never found her body, and they never found her. This was a case that when the police got the information from me, they reported it to every media there was. The newspaper, the radio, the television stations, and the next day they were all on my doorstep. Now previously to this, I had worked with the police, but I always worked anonymously. I didn't want to be known for it. I just worked anonymously and worked with the police, and that was that. I did what I could do. Well, I was out of the closet, and it kept bothering me. Where was she? I know this kid tortured her. I know that he murdered her. I know he did. So I was doing some hypnotherapy classes at Hendrix, which is a college in Conway. And I had one of the people that I was working with put me under hypnotherapy, and I had a picture of Sonny, because they'd gotten it from her boyfriend, which was the man that I saw, by the way. And I held it in my hand, and as the hypnotherapist put me down, I was looking to see what he did with her and to her. And I saw a big sign, and it said Jones Mill. And I saw him take her to this area, and to like a pasture or wooded area. And then I saw him torture her, and I saw him murder her, strangle her. And I told the police, I called the police, and they came and they got me, and they took me to Jones Mill. And we went to the area where the sign was, and I followed the road that I saw to the area where I saw, and I could smell the body. Now, human body does not smell like an animal. The dead smells completely different. It's a sicky, sweet smell. Once you've smelled it, you never forget it. And I smelled that smell, and I saw buzzards flying. And I told the police, she's on this property. She is here. They said, well, maybe we'll go up and we'll ask the people that own the property if we can look for her. Well, they went up there, and they said, well, they weren't home. And then they said to me, don't look for her by yourself. Don't go onto this property by yourself. If you do, we'll arrest you. There'll be hunters that'll find her. Well, I was stuck. And about 2.5, maybe 3 months later, hunters found her on that property, real close to where we were. They never arrested, well, they did arrest Sonny, but they released him on bail, for God's sakes. It turned out that he was a serial murderer on top of everything else, because when I tapped into him, I saw him killing a lot of other women, young women, probably 10 to 11 of them. That case haunted me. There was another case that I worked on, Denise. I was called by her mother and her grandmother to tell them what had happened to her, because she disappeared after she was working in a restaurant and was never seen again. They took me to her room. I touched into her. And she was taken from the restaurant by a man that she knew. And I knew that this young man was a friend of her brother's. And I told them, I said, I think I can tell you who did this, but I need a yearbook. And I told them the year that I needed. So I went to the sheriff's office, and he had a yearbook. And I went through the yearbook, and I scanned the yearbook till I came to this one picture. And I said, this is the man that killed her. And then I told him what he had done. He had tortured her as well. He had become friends with her brother so he could be close to her. And he wanted her to reciprocate affection that he had for her, which she never did. So he decided that if he couldn't have her, no one else could have her. So he picked her up at the restaurant and took her and bound her and tortured her and then moved her body and then buried her. I wanted to find her. I had a hard time with the police. They really didn't want to work with me because I was a quote psychic, and as a psychic, maybe it was a little off my head, but all the information that I gave them turned out to be accurate. And I told them, I said, this is the man's name, and I told him his name, which is Michael Gold. And I said, if you look in the trunk of his car, you will find rope, and you'll find her hair in that rope. So they brought him to me. They said, are you willing to face him? I said, sure, I'll face him. So they brought him in to me, and I told him what I saw and what he had done. And of course he lied, and he said he didn't do it. There's no way in the world he would ever do such a thing. After he left the room with me, he went and threw up. They opened the trunk of his car. They found rope with hair, long hair, in the rope. But they had no proof, so they let him go. They never found her body. I told him, I said, she's buried near an oil rig, and it's on Spring Hill Road. Well, they couldn't go outside of their district, and Spring Hill Road, where the oil field was outside of their district, so they couldn't go there, and they couldn't take me to it. Okay. This one actually healed me from being haunted by these cases, because I found out later that Michael married her best friend and had a baby, which is a real irony. And then he shot a policeman, and he was put into prison. Not over her death, but over shooting the police officer. In prison, he confessed to his cellmate that he had killed her and where he had buried her. Well, his cellmate said, this is an opportunity to make a really good deal with the police. So he made a deal with the police that if he could get Michael to take him to where she was buried, they would give him a good plea bargain and some perks. He got out of prison. They both got out about the same time. Michael took him to her body, and they were able to get him on the murder. But I learned from this experience, which these cases, they hounded me because I knew who did it, I knew where they were, but I couldn't get the full cooperation. It's like I couldn't solve the case. But I found out that things have to happen in God's time, not man's. And even though I really wanted the case to be solved and I really worked at it, it wasn't mine to solve then. There were things that had to happen. Michael had to marry her best friend. He had to bring this child into the world. He had to affect other people. Apparently he was supposed to shoot the other police officer. But I found out that things happen for a reason. And I learned to release and let God. And I learned that some cases simply were not my cases, period. Try as I might, they weren't my cases to solve. And I got okay with that. I stopped getting frustrated and anguishing over them. So I just wanted to clear that up and to let you know that I don't know everything, and I don't pretend to be God, and I don't pretend to know everything. I do the best I can with what I have and with the accordance of what I'm supposed to do. So I thought I'd give you a chance and all of you the opportunity to ask questions. You don't have to stay on this topic. I just wanted to kind of clear the air on that and open it up if you have any other questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
The lady wants to know, was that obsidian stone on your necklace? And what does it do?
That's a labradorite.
What does it do?
I love my labradorite. A labradorite, when placed on the heart chakra, gives positive aggressiveness. If you're a person that can't say the word no, or you can't deal with confrontations, or other people intimidate you, if you wear a labradorite on your heart chakra, you get this positive aggressiveness and you can say the word no, and you don't have the confrontation because you just go ahead and put it on the table. It does wonders. Worn up here, it's a piece of jewelry. And I think labradorites are absolutely gorgeous. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Hey Carol, as far as being haunted by murder cases, can you just speak to when you've been jumped when investigating a murder case by a spirit that is at the scene of the crime, or?
Yes, it's happened.
And if you would explain what I meant by jumped.
Taken over.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Denton, Texas, and a lot of people have hopefully seen the Flower Girl episode. When the police officer took me there originally, this girl had disappeared, and she was had sold flowers at front of this nightclub, and I was in the area where apparently she disappeared from, the exact location where she disappeared from, and I saw this truck, and I saw her get into this truck with this really big guy. He was like really, really a big guy. Not, but very tall, like 6'8". And all of a sudden, I screamed, I've been shot in the arm. And it wasn't me screaming it, it was her screaming it. She took me over, literally took me over, and started to tell the police detective what had happened, that he'd shot her in the arm. There was a female to her right, and she was on the console, and he was to her left, and that he was accusing her of stealing $200 from him, which she didn't do. She didn't know what he was talking about. And he's driving off with her, and she says, and they drive, you go up here and you turn right. Now you turn left. And she was directing him through me where she was taken. And then she says, okay, we crossed the river here, now turn right. And she said, now stop. So he stopped. And she said, he took me over here and took him over to an area where there was just kind of like a little mound of ground. And she said, he just laid me there. And I was bleeding. And I guess he thought I would bleed to death. He came back that evening, though, and he took his boot and he stomped it into my throat and started twisting it, and I died. And then he started to move me, he started to drag me, and my jacket got caught on brush, and he took it off of me. And she described the jacket as a neon green plastic jacket, and he threw it up in the tree, and it landed on a branch in the tree. And he took me to the back of the truck, put me in, threw a cover over me of some kind, and then was stuck in the mud because there had been a rain previously. And this man came to help, and he let the man help him to pull out of where he'd been stuck. And he took my body to he took her to 5 different locations. Now this is in the course of summer, okay? He took her to 5 different locations. She took the police detective to every single place that he took this body and left it for a period of time. Now, on the 5th time, apparently he took her out of state, across state line, because you can't go across state line to look for someone who's disappeared with that police department. But there was enough blood in the truck that it got him convicted of murder, and it was in fact her blood. And the police asked me if I would face him up at the jail. I went, okay, I'll face him up at the jail. They wanted to see if it was the same guy that I was seeing. And he was a really tall guy, but when I faced him up, he didn't look tall. He was weird. I know he was tall, but he didn't look tall. And they didn't present me as a psychic, they presented me as an investigator. So I asked him a couple of questions and then we left. That was a really weird experience. I didn't have permission to get her into the light. And at that point in time, I didn't have enough information to help her into the light because it was early on. I did later though. I was able to get her into the light later. I got permission from her mother and grandmother once I learned how to do this. It's not uncommon for that to happen to me. Sometimes when I do some mediumship, which I do mediumship, it's not my forte, but I do it. Sometimes the person will literally try to take me over, and has done it on occasion. And I have to call whoever's here working with me to call the Band of Mercy to help get them into the light, because it's kind of weird to have somebody completely take you over. Any questions?
Here's a question. What are some of the fun psychic experiences you had?
Fun?
Fun. Just kind of changes the whole pattern, but
Okay.
I'm sure you had some fun ones.
I use my gift in various areas. I like to go to power places in the world. I know this sounds a little, but you know, like Machu Picchu. Just unique places. And when I go to these places, I can go back in time and see what they were like in their heyday. And I have used my gift with our different people that do archaeology, that sort of thing. I've worked some with J.J. Hurtak. I've worked with him in Egypt, dealing with the pyramids and the tunnel. That was probably the best experience that I've had, one of the best. And I located a tunnel between the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, and the base of the Sphinx. And it was so cool because they found an antechamber at the base of the Sphinx, and they found, I think it was 9 different chambers underneath the Sphinx, that I got to be part of that happening. And that was with Dr. Joseph Shore and ARE. And I spent about 23 or 24 days on the at the Giza Plateau. And I had total run of the Giza Plateau. Anywhere I wanted to go, anything I wanted to have unlocked, I just say unlock it and they'd unlock it for me. It was extraordinary. So I got to like play in the past. It sounds weird, but I kind of do that sort of thing. So that's my fun experiences with it. But I do this in various parts of the world at like power places, which are so cool.
You know, Hurtak, one of his latest books now is called The Industrial Complex of the Giza Plateau, and he talks about all the stuff that you're describing.
Yeah, that was neat working with him.
Yeah.
He's an extraordinary man, extraordinary, and his wife.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, another question, okay. What's your advice for deflecting against negativity?
I've got a couple of things you can do. One of the major things I learned to do to deflect negativity or negative energies is I would visualize, this is what my guides taught me to do, I would visualize myself in a silver egg, mirrored on the outside with Christed white light on the inside surrounding me. And it would deflect negativity for 12 hours. And it really does work. The other thing is smoky crystal. I have like smoky crystal power bracelets, kind of like the cornelian here, but they're smokies. And they help to negate negative energy as well. They sort of soak it up and you don't get it. And that's really kind of neat. But I like the silver egg really well. And the combination is dynamite.
I know it works. I use it. It works. Somebody wants to know about stone. You want to go ahead?
I was going to ask a question here. There's a person on here whose father passed in January, and she would like to know, she doesn't sense him around, but she would like to know, how would she know if he was around with her?
Generally speaking, they leave their personal scent, or something that reminds you of them, like cigarette smoke, cigar smoke. They may turn the light off and on, although that could be a nomadic spirit. You never know for sure. Usually, though, if it's somebody that you love and they've gone into the light, very often they will show up in your dream, and it would be a very vivid dream, and they'd be really glowing and looking wonderful and young and youthful. If they're trying to get your attention in the physical world, more than likely they're earthbound and maybe have not gone into the light. So I would make sure that you pray for them and make sure that they've gotten into the light, just to be on the safe side.
And that prayer formula is where?
It's on carolpate.com.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Carol, if they do smell of, say, cigar smoke, is it because they're smoking a cigar in the spiritual realm, or is that just an essence they have?
It's an essence.
Okay.
To let you know that they're there. Now, once they've gone into the light, though, they can come back with that same scent to recognize. You will recognize them by that.
Okay.
Because my father, his scent was whiskey and cigarettes.
Yeah.
And so after I got him into the light, he came to warn me for my daughter, and every time he came to warn me, it would be the smell of whiskey.
Nice.
So, are there any prayers other than the one that removes bacteria, viruses, parasites, and molds to help with the COVID? Are there any formulas that you have that would assist with helping heal someone from that?
Again, I'm gonna repeat the prayer. The prayer is, I would please ask the Legion of Pan to remove all negative viruses and bacterias, their seeds, eggs, particle residue, and young from me now, including COVID-19, and take them into the light in the name of Jesus Christ, and I thank thee.
So I got one for you. You could tell us about the new earth that we are shifting into. How will we know when we are there?
Do what? Say that
Can
again.
you tell us about the new earth that we are shifting into? How will we know when we are there?
I think you've gotten into somebody else's theories, is what I think's
Okay.
happening.
Well, that's what I was
We're not shifting into a new earth. We're
Thank you.
shifting into some strange times, I grant you, but not a new earth.
Okay, another question. What about Stonehenge?
What I haven't been to Stonehenge. I haven't had the opportunity, and I want to. I would really love to visit Great Britain. I'd love to go to Scotland, Ireland. I'd love to go to Stonehenge. I was going to do that, and then my husband got really, really ill, and I had to be his caregiver, and I did not have that opportunity to go there.
You went to Machu Picchu, didn't you?
I went to Machu. Oh, I love Machu Picchu. Yes, went to Machu Picchu. Yes,
Is that where you was taken over by the monk? Was that at Machu Picchu?
Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
He wasn't a monk. He was a shaman.
Oh.
and I started speaking in some Quechuan, and we had a guide who was a translator of Quechuan, and he had died on the premises hundreds of years ago, and he had, I don't know what it was, but it had lightning bolts on it. He was a shaman, and I went into this, like, cave, which I seem to like to go into caves, and I went in there, and I sat in the exact location where they found his body, in the position that he was in.
Oh, wow.
That happens, when I go to these places, very often, a shaman will speak to me, or sometimes take me over, and I get really light. When I say light, I mean like floaty light. Like you can take my hand and I'm like really light. It's weird. And it feels really neat. It's fun, and it's for me, and usually those that are with me, educational. I never know what's going to happen.
Is that because your energy is so high that you
Yeah,
start to,
it really is.
you kind of levitate?
I almost levitate, yeah.
Yeah.
Carol was with me, and she had my hand, and I think Frances was on one side and she was on the other, and I was just kind of not floating, but almost. It was wild. It felt wonderful. I liked it. Questions?
Okay, so we have a question. Does everyone have gifts, and how do you know what they are?
Yes, everyone has gifts of various sorts. Many people have psychic gifts. A lot of people have all sorts of gifts, but they're not aware of it because it's so natural to their being that they think everybody else has got it too. Francis, who's a friend of my friend's husband, Francis, could fix anything. He could take apart a watch or a clock or whatever and put it back together again. And he thought it was common that everyone should be able to do this. He didn't know it was a gift. And there are people that just, they can play anything. That's their gift, the gift of music. There are people that are psychically aware, psychically attuned. They can feel other people's motives and agendas, and they just think they're a good judge of character, but actually they have the gift of discernment and they're not aware of it. So consequently, yes, there are lots of gifted people out there. What you do without any thought easily is your gift, and what you're drawn to are going to be your areas of being gifted and talented.
I got a good one.
Okay.
Lady wants to know, have you had any demonic or satanic souls on the other side lately? And can you tell us any unique experience with this?
Lately, sure, lately, yeah, as a matter of
Okay.
fact, I have.
And
All
one
the
more,
time.
one more.
Have you not had it?
How did you first learn about satanic souls and the Glory Band of Mercy? That's 5 questions.
Yeah, let's do one at a time. Okay, recently, interestingly enough, years ago, probably about 30 years ago, I guess, there was a young couple that I met that she was pregnant. They had moved into this plantation house, and it was in Fouche Dam, which is kind of out a ways from Little Rock. And this particular plantation house was in the time of the Civil War. And there was a war that actually took place around that plantation. Several people were killed during the war, a skirmish, I guess. And they had been given the use or free rent of this plantation for them to do some work in restoring it. They said weird things were happening there at the plantation, and that they were afraid, and they wanted me to come out and get a feel on the place. Well, I went out there. It was probably around 1 or so. And it was a beautiful plantation house, 2-story, and I got a terrible feeling, kind of sick to my stomach. And I looked in the upper windows and I saw these red balls of light probably about that big, floating from window to window. And I went, oh dear God in heaven, this place is demonic. And I tried to go into the house, and I couldn't. It was really, really bad. It was demonic. It was just absolutely demonic. And I was led to this old oak tree that was set to the side of the house, and I felt like spinning, and I knew it was a vortex, and that there were these entities that were coming in and out of this vortex. And I did not, at that point in time, have the authority to do anything really with it. I was in the early years, and I had not developed my authority with the demonic at all. And I found out that this house, when this vortex, it would expand and contract. When it would expand, everyone in the area, they had religious statues in front of their homes because they could feel this energy radiating out, and they were scared of it. Weird things would happen. Spirits would start roaming, knocking on doors, turning lights off and on, and then it would contract and everything would settle back down again. And I told this couple to get out of there, that I was very worried about her baby, because she was probably, I think, 6 or 7 months pregnant. And they did get out. Well, she showed up on my doorstep about a week ago. Shocked me. With her son, who was the baby at that time. And he was under demonic attack. So I was able to go ahead and clear him, because now I have the knowledge and the authority, thank God. And I thought, how amazing, 30 years later,
Wow.
I got to take care of that situation that followed them apparently for their entire life. So yeah, I'm dealing with it on a fairly regular basis, probably maybe 1 a week, dealing with demonic. Yeah.
On the subject of demonics, there's someone here in the chat tonight, and they are having extremely vivid, intense nightmares about spirit possession, and they want to know, is this real, and what advice would you give them to do about this?
The lifting. I would highly advise you do the lifting. The lifting is just like an exorcism. It shortcuts the exorcism. I don't have to do exorcism. I used to do exorcisms. All right, my spirit guides train me in exorcism. Okay, they train me about the demonic. I went through like 8 years of training until they finally shortcutted the whole situation to where I could do the lifting. My suggestion is that they start doing the lifting on a regular basis. And I'm here to tell you, do not be afraid of the demonic. What my guides told me is the demonic or cockroaches, Christ is raid. That's what they said to me.
That's true.
They said, do not be fearful, because if you're fearful, you feed them. They fear off confusion, illusion, and fear.
Amen.
It emboldens them. You don't want to do this. You want to take your authority through Christ. If you do that, you can command them away in the name of Jesus Christ, or you can just do the simple lifting and you're protected.
Okay, so we also have someone wants to know, I'm just going to read it out right. Hi, Carol from Nova Scotia. I have so many dreams of touching my mother and Nan. I can actually feel their skin. Is this a visitation?
Yes, that's a visitation. Yes, and it's usually in a kind of an austere place, and really take pride and joy in this, because it's really an opportunity for you to have that hands-on, which we all crave, because we miss that touch from our loved ones who passed on. So they're really giving you a gift. It is a visitation. Nice hearing from you.
So many Christians say that mediums are dabbling in the spirit world and are subject to inviting demons. You pray Christian prayers, so you must be a Christian. Have you had experience with demons and... Hold on.
I don't believe in seances. I think I don't believe in dabbling. I think you're asking for a lot of trouble when you do that. I think when you do seances, you're asking for trouble when you do that. I have made contact with those who have passed over, but I'm very, very cautious with that. And if they haven't gone into the light, I make sure that they are taken into the light, that they get redeemed back to God. I don't believe in doing hauntings for the sake of, oh, let's go there and get scared. I don't believe in dabbling in any way, shape, or form. And I have seen people who have done that and have gotten hit with the demonic, and it's very, very dangerous. So I'm in total agreement there.
So here's a question. If someone passes an entity to you through sex, does that mean the person is evil or not good?
Say that again.
If so, like a spirit jumps from me to a female if I'm having sex with them, I mean, they want to know it's evil.
I haven't had that experience, but anything's possible. Again, I highly recommend doing the daily lifting daily. That's why it's called a daily lifting. That way you are protected. That way let me rephrase that. The daily lifting does not protect you, okay? You really, you're subject to being hit by spirits on a regular basis. When you're driving the freeway, let's say there's been a car wreck, 2 people died, one of them can attach to you. It's just the way it is. But you can protect yourself in that you can do the daily lifting, and those spirits will be redeemed back to God, thus protecting you. Because I'm telling you something, when they attach to you in your auric field, when they get caught in your auric field, whatever they died of can manifest in your body. Their emotions can become your emotions. If they had mental problems, you can develop mental problems from them. Aches and pains can develop in your body if they have aches and pains. You kind of become not controlled by them, but maybe compelled by them. And I think it's dangerous. So I highly recommend that you do the daily lifting on a regular basis. If you skip a day, it's okay. But go back and go ahead and take care of it and do it for your sake.
How did you find out about the Glory Band of Mercy?
How did I find out about the Glory Band of Mercy? Okay. I read a book by Dr. Edith Fiore, and the book was called The Unquiet Dead. And everyone and their brother was trying to get me to read this book. And I went, okay, I'll probably read the book. Somebody brought it to me, put it on my lap, said, here, read it. So I read the book, and about halfway through the book, it said if you're having an anxiety attack, you probably have spirits attached to you. Well, halfway through, I started having an anxiety attack. And I went, oh dear God. Because I'd never even heard of spirit attachments. I didn't know what that was. Never even dawned on me. And I went, there's something really to this. Well, the next day, 3 people showed up at my doorstep. I think I'm spirit possessed. Okay, you're spirit possessed. Well, I had been working with the doctor previously, several years back, that had taught me how to use finger signals to get to the subconscious. So, like, yes was this right finger, index finger to lift. No was the left index finger to lift. I don't want to answer, I don't know the answer, which usually meant yes, was the little finger to lift. So I thought, well, this is the perfect thing to find out if they have spirits attachments or not, because I don't know that much about them other than what I read about. So and I was recording this each the different people. So I said, do you have any spirits attached to you? And I got a yes. Yes, finger lifted. Are there more than 10? No. Are there 10? No. Are there 9? Yes. Okay. Are these both male and female? Yes. Okay. And so I started working with them using yes or no. I brought the first one through, the second one through, found out their age by finger signals, yes and no answers. But the interesting thing was when we played the tape back, they were on the tape answering my questions, and it would be men, women, and children. And I went, oh dear God, this is true. This is for real. And I found myself going into a whole new direction in my life. And that's when I started using the Band of Mercy, because she talked about the Band of Mercy in there. And I was at a bookstore, and this book come flying off the shelf, landed on the floor in front of me, and it was Dr. Wicklund. And it dated back to the early 1900s. And it talked about the Band of Mercy and how he used his wife, who was a clairvoyant and a medium, for spirit attachments. And then I found another one in another bookstore that fell down at my feet that dated back to the 1800s. Very similar. And I went, okay guys, I got it. I'm on a whole new course in my life. And off I went. And still going.
Legion of Pan. What is the Legion of Pan, and why do you reference them in your prayers?
Good question. Okay. As I started doing work with the Band of Mercy, I started working with mediums. And I would take people who had spirit attachments and people who had physical problems. And I would bring the spirits through the medium. Now, mind you, I'm pretty practical, and I'm real skeptical. I know that sounds bizarre, but I really, really am. So I wanted to make sure I got the spirit's real full name and their address, and if it applied, a phone number, okay? How they died, where they died, what state, what year, and if I could, what month. And I did check them out, and they did prove that to be true. So, went, okay, my mediums are good, the information is good, so I started doing more work. Well, the first thing that I started getting after I started getting spirits were the energies and consciousness of different illnesses and diseases. And I found out their root causes, which were in negative thinking, thought forms, and attachments through spirit. Then, the next thing that I found was the Legion of Pan, Nature Spirit Community. This one was way out for me. Through my medium came Pan, and he said, I am the God Pan. And I went, no, there's only one God. No. I'm very Christian based, okay? That's one God, one Christ, one Satan, okay? No other gods before me. No, he said, I am not that kind of God. I went, okay, you better clarify this. He said, I am the Archdiva, the Archangel of nature. And I said, your name's really Pan? Yes, my name is Pan. He didn't like that. Okay. And you're an Archangel of nature. Yes. He said, you will only meet me this one time. But you are going to learn about the nature spirit community. Thank you. And I apologize. Because I really meant, I just didn't know how to handle it. Threw me for a loop. And then I started working with his assistants. You're going to love this, Marigold. She was much easier to work with. Pan was not pleased with me. And I started learning about the nature spirit community, and I learned that all of nature was a part of God, created by God, had intelligence, conscience, and consciousness. And it blew my mind. And then I started thinking about vegetarians. And I started thinking about what we eat and how we fish with worms and crickets. And the consciousness of nature and how powerful that was. And I started communing with nature, and my whole world just opened up. It just flat opened up. And then I come to the realization that everything is a part of God, and everything has consciousness and intelligence. And wow, we're so limited in our thinking, we just don't know. The American Indians and the Incans and the Mayans, we all had this sliver of knowledge, but nobody ever seemed to put it all together to where it functioned as a whole, and God being a whole and creation and creator of all. So that's how I met the Legion of Pan, in Pan.
Please talk about pets in the afterlife.
Yes, they are in the afterlife. God bless them. Yes, we get to see our pets in the afterlife. And they incarnate. They reincarnate as well as humans reincarnate. And they can reincarnate back to us, although rarely in the same lifetime. You know the movie Dog's Purpose?
Great movie.
Yeah, wonderful. There's some accuracy to that, although I've never seen it where they reincarnated like 3 times, but it's okay. Yes, our pets are in heaven with us.
You got anything over there, Heather?
Well, I was trying to find a question. I will summarize. There was a question on here. It's about seeing colored lights outside or around, or sometimes at night seeing streaks in the sky. This person wanted to know if they are seeing the energy.
Well, what I found is in the nature spirit community are colored lights. And they can be like sparklers, and they're various colors. The demonic is always red or black, one of the two. Mostly red. There are like nature spirits that you can't see that feeds off negative energies, and these are these little bitty kind of white orbs, yeah, what they call orbs. And they're kind of cool. So yeah, she's seeing energies or entities, if you will.
Someone wants to know, is there a such thing as addiction entity? What type of entity?
Demonic.
Okay.
Absolutely, you better believe it. Yes. Okay. You can ask, especially on pain meds, you can ask for the demon of whatever the pain med that you're addicted to, or drug, or addiction of alcohol, or food, or coffee, or anything else that you're addicted to. You can ask the Archangel Michael and his legions to remove the demon of from you and place them into protected sanctuary in the name of Jesus Christ, along with their residue. And it will be done, and it is awesome. I've taken people off of, I got myself off cigarettes that way. I asked for demons of cigarettes, smoking, nicotine to be removed from me in the name of Jesus Christ, and place them into protected sanctuary. And then I asked for the Legion of Pan to bring me positive divas of nicotine to soothe me until my addiction was clean, and also remove all demons of addiction and place them into protected sanctuary in the name of Jesus Christ. And I put those cigarettes down. I never put them back up, and I never had a problem. Period. At all.
So it works with methamphetamines and
It works with
heroin,
yes,
heroin and
hydrocodone,
hydrocodone. Good.
Oxycontin,
Good.
all of that. It does work. It works wonderfully
Is
well.
that on the website?
No, but I've got to put it on there. I need to put that on there. Yeah.
Someone would like to know how how would you approach spiritually dealing with chronic health issues, especially those centered in the uterine area?
Oh, yeah, the uterine. Okay, number one, I do the lifting. Make sure it's my problem. Number two, uterine goes back to sexuality, goes back to probably trauma, sexual trauma. It could have been in early years. And fear of being female, fear of their own sexuality, and wanting to expel the uterus and their sex organs. Get the book Heal Your Body by Louise Hay. It gets into some of that. And we ever get this virus situated, I'm going to do my healing workshop. I really want to do that. And but when you recognize what the source of it is, if you start tapping the area of the womb using these two fingers, tapping twice in that area, it will help to release the trauma from the cellular consciousness and the fears and all the bad feelings from the cellular consciousness, and can actually in time heal. Does that help? I hope.
I hope so.
There was a question I saw earlier. Can you get an attachment through sex?
I asked her that.
Oh, you did already. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, you can.
Some
do
of
it.
we know and love what some is just a psychic and a medium.
The difference between a psychic and a medium is a medium strictly makes contact with those people who have departed this earth plane and are in either the outer darkness or in the light. A psychic may not have any mediumistic talents whatsoever. They simply work on, how do I put it? They can work on the past events like I do, using psychometry. They pick up on energy and they translate it back into words, action, and deed.
Remember, Carol, phone.
Yes. I am reminded to tell all of you my phone number here, so you've got it, which is area code 501-888-8056. I've enjoyed this evening. I've enjoyed talking to you. And we're going to do the lifting now with everyone's permission. Are we ready?
Yes.
I would please ask the Band of Mercy to remove all unclean spirits, thought forms, elementals, unnamed energies, in the name of Ha-Goel, Shalom, and in the name of Jesus Christ, and either place them in protected sanctuary or do whatever they deem necessary with them, and I thank thee. I would please ask the appropriate archangel or angels and the appropriate legions to please remove all demonic entities, energies, influences now, in the names of Elohim, El-Jar, Jehovah, Yahweh, Ha-Goel, Shalom, and in the name of Jesus Christ, and either place them in protected sanctuary or do whatever they deem necessary with them, and I thank thee. I would please ask the appropriate archangel or angels and the appropriate legions from the appropriate realms or counter realms to please remove all negative beings, entities, energies, influences now in the names of Insaf, Shemhim Farash, Adonai, Shamesh, Ha-Goel, Shalom, and in the name of Jesus Christ, and either place them in protected sanctuary or do whatever they deem necessary with them, and I thank thee. I would please ask the Glory Band of Mercy to remove anything that's attached, affecting, or influencing now, and place them into protected sanctuary in the name of Ha-Goel, Shalom, and in the name of Jesus Christ, and I thank thee. Good night. I hope we get to do this again. With any kind of luck, I think we will. Take care. Peace be with all of thee. Good night.
Thank you, Carol.